everybody. Welcome to The Wrong End of the Snake. It's a webcast about audio, touring, and the relationships we have built between our road families. Tater and I have had an 18-year relationship on The Wrong End of the Snake with bands like Ted Nugent, Kid Rock, Slash, Stone Temple Pilots, Prophets of Rage, Iron Maiden, and most notably, 10 years as front of house and monitor mixers for Linkin Park. My co-host, Kevin Tater McCarthy, is a world-class monitor engineer with over 30 years in the business. I'm very proud to call him my friend. He has 9 Top Dog Monitor Engineer of the Year awards and 2 Parnelli Monitor Engineer of the Year awards. I'm Ken Van Druten, a.k.a. Pooch. I'm a front house engineer with 3 decades in the music industry. I'm a 3-time Grammy-nominated recording engineer, and I have 8 Top Dog Front of House Engineer of the Year awards and 1 Parnelli Front of House Engineer of the Year award. Let's do a little housekeeping. Please use the chat window of the Zoom app to communicate amongst yourselves. If you are streaming from our YouTube channel and you want to be able to ask questions of our guests, register to be on the Zoom call for future episodes. Links to register are in all of our social media. If you have any questions for our guests, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom app. We will answer as many questions as possible during the hour and then answer any leftover questions in our Q&A overtime episode. Look for that to be uploaded to our YouTube channel in a few days. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to visit our social media. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook is at Wrong End of the Snake. Tater, why don't you tell us about our guests this week?
All right. Today we have Mr. George Edwards. George has well over 3 decades of industry experience with a strong background in touring, production management, and business development. He cut his teeth working with legends like Black Flag, Social Distortion, Huey Lewis, Journey, Santana, David Bowie, and Motley Crew, to name a few. His stints with Showco, R&R Sound, Morpheus, and as Sound on Stage general manager for a decade are legendary. In 2009, George founded Delicate Productions San Francisco, where he took the position of GM for 7 years. Now this California native is at Sound Image as a general manager. Let's welcome to my friend, drag racing enthusiast, which I'd love to be talking with him today, but we're not. George Edwards.
Hey, George, welcome.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
We're doing fantastic, man. How are you?
You know, another day in almost paradise here in balmy California.
Get that snow shovel this morning?
Yeah.
that would be you two. I was watching a bit of news earlier, and I saw that the Tejas is buried in snow. And Tater, we know your pool's frozen.
Yeah. Tater's used to it. We're not used to that kind of thing here, man. It's brutal. It's 8 degrees right now. I'm looking outside, and we got about 4 inches of snow on the ground, and every single water pipe in my house is frozen.
Well, we are right now at about 68 degrees, and you can see us as wimpy Californians. You know, I'm gotta be buttoned up for a winter storm at 68 degrees.
All right, we had someone else pop in here.
Yeah, welcome, Rick Allen. How are you? Oh, we got you muted there.
There you go.
There it is.
No, I can put some subtitles down below if you want.
Morning, brother.
How are you guys today?
We're doing good. We were just getting started, and we were talking about just how hellacious the weather here is in Texas, but we're keeping warm at least. There's a lot of people here that are haven't had power for like 24 hours. We luckily have, so
that's crazy.
It's been crazy.
Yeah, I've only ever seen weather like that you're in Dallas, right?
Yeah.
I've only ever seen weather like that, like maybe once in my lifetime.
Yeah, like the last time that we had any significant snow was, 2012. So yeah, it only happens every decade or so, and this one is a particular nasty one. So
yeah.
For us in Detroit, it was just a couple days ago. So we're
It's the usual in Detroit. That's the usual deal.
Yeah, we got hit a little hard last night, but yeah, we've already had 35 inches, I think, so far this winter.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, those East Coast storms can be brutal.
Oh man, I know.
We're weathering through it.
So what are you guys talking about today?
We thought that we might do something a little bit different. You know, most of our episodes are specific to our guests, and we kind of go through, you know, how they ended up where they are and, you know, those kind of things. But we thought that since both of you guys are so involved in kind of the charity side of trying to help our community, our sound and lights and, you know, stagehand community, as well as musicians, in this really, you know, weird time that we're having, we thought we would dedicate this whole kind of episode to maybe speaking about that, and that both of you guys are really involved in a bunch of different things.
Lots of stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
First off, I'd like to say, feel free at any time to stop and say as many times as you want, the website addresses, where to find this stuff. You can never say it enough. And it seems like you do these things and they say it once and you miss it and you got to go back. Say it as much as you want, as many times as you want to get it across. And I'd also like to put out to our listeners out there, or watchers, or however you get this, that Rick is very nice to join us today, take his time. But I want to give a little background on Rick and his band. And that just so everybody knows that Def Leppard in the music industry, I'm talking about people that work for Def Leppard or are vendors and all that kind of stuff, have such a solid reputation of treating their crews and their vendor crews who work not directly for them, but, you know, one step away, how well they are treated out there. And I just want everyone to know that first off, because this is well before COVID. It's known throughout the industry how great it is to work for Def Leppard. So let's just start there. So this is nothing new for what's going on with George and Rick. They've been doing stuff for years, and we're highlighting it now because of what's going on, and we're all sitting at home. But let's just make it noted that they've been doing this for a while.
No, that's right. That's cool. That's cool that you bring that up, because, you know, we're always firm believers that you're only as good as your crew. You know, the show wouldn't happen without, you know, what I consider to be a skilled trade. I mean, everybody that's involved, from people that come in first thing in the morning, you know, doing the rigging, you know, it goes on throughout the day. And, you know, I can't believe that some of these guys are in at 7 a.m. and they're the last ones to leave at night. And, you know, if I had a hat on, I would tip it. But no, it's I don't think people quite realize that it's the infrastructure of our industry that is in danger of dying, and we just think it's a call to action. You know, we want people to really step up. We want other musicians to get involved. You know, I'm sure there are ways that we can. You know, there's a lot of us out there. And I think if there was more communication and you know, a concerted effort, I'm sure we could help really maintain the infrastructure of our industry. And that's what it's about at the moment. It's about having something to come back to when everything gets back to, you know, so-called normal. And that's really mine and George's focus. And to be honest, you know, the person that should be on this call, and you should invite her on. My wife was very instrumental. You know, we have a non-for-profit called Raven Drum Foundation, and you know, we're normally, you know, planning a fundraiser that goes on every. It's like an annual fundraiser. And, you know, Lauren got into planning that before COVID. And at the time I was working with, I don't know if you know Bernie Broderick.
No, I don't.
You know, well, Bernie works up at Sound Image. He's kind of the mad scientist that, you know, that puts all these weird and wonderful speaker systems together. And I happened to be doing a project with him, a home system. And, we started to hear, you know, when COVID hit, we started to hear about how difficult things got for people. And he said, well, you know, we're setting up a sound stage up in, you know, up at Sound Image. Why don't you come up and maybe you could do your fundraiser and, you know, you could record up there. And then when we got there and we got to know George, we got to know Greg Price, we got to know, you know, all these incredibly talented people. That was when we started to realize that there was a real problem, and this situation we find ourselves in is not going away anytime soon. And we're one of those industries, you know, us and sports or any large audiences, you know, we're basically we've been kneecapped. You know, we can't do anything, and we're probably going to be the last ones to come back.
Yeah, that's true.
It's definitely looking like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Lauren, she was very instrumental. She got talking to George. She got talking to all the guys up there and realized that we had to refocus and forget about the Raven Drum Foundation for now and really, really concentrate on our industry, an industry that supported me since, you know, probably 1976. And that was before I joined Def Leppard. I joined a local stage crew to make extra money to buy cymbals and that kind of thing. And I worked for the likes of Thin Lizzy and Motorhead, and, you know, basically loading and unloading trucks and you know, doing what you do, you know, to make ends meet. And so I get it. I understand what it's like to be on that side of the fence. So after Lauren, you know, got into it with the guys, she just said, we have to help. So, and
let's mention her full name, right? Lauren Monroe.
Yeah, Lauren Monroe.
Yeah, and she had an EP come out, Big Love, right? Am I correct? Not too long ago.
That's right.
Has another record coming out. Is it Under the Wolf Moon coming out soon?
That's exactly. Yeah.
She's not with us today, but we do have to thank her for that and her contributions to all this for sure.
Yeah, she's in the studio today.
Fantastic.
Yeah, she's always busy with her music, which is great. And we're all really fortunate to have somebody like Lauren, because she had the vision. And the Big Love benefit concert really was born out of the song Big Love. And, you know, it was fantastic that she saw the need. And, you know, basically we all racked our brains and said, well, who can we get involved? And the first person I actually called was Tommy Shaw from Styx. And without hesitation, he said, I'm in. And that was such a huge compliment to the two of us, you know, that without question, no, you know, oh, where do I sign the contract, or, you know, is there this or that? No, it was nothing to do with that. And he ended up doing this piece it was a new song from an upcoming Styx record. So he sat in his studio and did this wonderful acoustic version of it. And then everybody else started getting on board. I got in touch with Billy Idol. Again, no questions asked. He was like, yep, no problem, I'll do it. And then it sort of got a little difficult. So I called Matt Sorum up, and he's used to sort of wrangling musicians, because everybody always says yes. They all say yes, you know. And then you go, well, now we need you to actually follow through.
Yeah, right. And he is the king wrangler, man.
Yeah.
That guy.
No, he's great. So I got in touch with Matt, and he says, don't worry about it. Anyway, he got in touch with Miles Kennedy, and I mean, I'm not sure you guys have seen the show, but his performance is stellar. He is one of the most talented guys.
Oh, he is, isn't he? He's unbelievable.
Yeah, hairs on your arms stand up when you listen to Miles. That he does "Going to California" by Led Zeppelin on a on a steel guitar,
Yeah.
Dobro, and it just, wow.
Yeah, I know. Not an easy song to sing. That's for sure. That's a very high bar.
Yeah.
So yeah, all these people stepped up. And again, going back to, you know, what Lauren saw, you know, between March and September, correct me if I'm wrong, George, but we heard about between 10 and 12 suicides.
We were, between March and September, we were at 10. By the time we finished filming in November, we were at 17.
Oh my!
So we're talking about 17 roadies or stagehands that have taken their own lives
that
because
had
of
committed
this.
suicide. And what had kind of brought us to a story that had brought us to Rick and Lauren actually stemmed from a friend of ours in the staging business. There's an annual event we do up here in the Bay, a big corporate event that it's a huge event. It takes as many days to put it in, about 50 trucks between all the vendors. We usually have about 3 days to get it out. And we bring in everybody you can think of, including the unions calling in everybody. And at the end of it, his son had taken his own life. And the anniversary of his son's life, the celebration of his son's life, it was just getting harder and harder for him. And he was speaking with another friend of ours, a rigger, and we all decided that John couldn't stop celebrating. It was too hard on him, and we decided we should create a support group. And so we created a private group on Facebook called Loving Hands for Stagehands, and it was meant for a safe place for people to be able to just talk and about feelings. And as you know, out there on the road, you know, you sprain your ankle, you wrap the thing up and you go to work. You get the flu,
keep going. Yeah,
you go to work. That mentality sometimes doesn't allow you to, you know, your wife's at home doing some unthinkable thing. You got to still go to work. You know, there's and you know, the back lounge talk is not about your feelings, and it's not a conducive environment to really talking things out. And you know, and especially at our age, we should be able to talk. We should be able to, amongst each other, to a therapist, whoever it is that, and but we all realize one thing: none of us have any ability, technically or educationally, to know how to talk people down off the fence or whatever.
We're not equipped. We aren't educated in it. We're not equipped for it.
We're just not. So we, some folks from all around the world, Jennifer Poe from the Scorpions and the Eagles, they're touring therapist. A couple of other these touring therapists just all of a sudden jumping on board, and we created a moderator group. And next thing you know, we're a couple thousand people in, and daily affirmations and people supporting each other, and we're getting these letters and we're getting all this stuff. And I hit Lauren and Rick to this, and they all of a sudden, like, it opened up a place in their eyes that they just are foreign to, because it's not part of their daily lives. But what is part of their daily lives is for example, Project Resiliency.
Yeah.
Rick can assimilate to what some of these wounded warriors come back from war, and it really struck a chord with what takes place in their household.
It's true. Well, we saw a parallel you know, with, and like George points out, there was this mental health component that everybody was kind of missing. So it wasn't too difficult for us to refocus and really treat our industry professionals, brothers and sisters, family, you know, in a similar way to the Wounded Warriors. Really, it wasn't that different, because, you know, a lot of these guys and girls, they go out there from tour to tour, and you know, to hear about people, you know, really right next to living in a car or worse, you know what I mean? So there was this huge mental health component that I think everybody was missing. And I think the general public, they think, oh, the roadies, they're going to be taken care of by their rich and powerful, you know, rock star buddies.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's safety net is relative to what they're doing. And, you know, eventually it'll catch up with everybody. This ripple effect that's gone out into our industry is devastating. It really is, you know.
Very well put. Thanks for saying it. Very, very well put.
No, I appreciate it. So when Lauren first came up with this whole idea of Big Love benefit concerts, it wasn't just the idea of a sort of a virtual concert. The original concept was to come into a town or a city and basically fill the venues up, and you know, with all the bands that want to be involved. And you know, it didn't necessarily just have to be a virtual thing. We wanted to continue this and start to work with other like-minded non-for-profits. Like, obviously, our focus at the moment is on our industry, but eventually what we'd like to do is be able to go into towns and cities and be able to work with like-minded non-for-profits and find out where the money is needed, whether that is homelessness or whatever. So this is it's a way bigger vision. But right now, the focus has to be on saving our industry. And, you know, if there's anybody out there that knows other musicians, you know, reach out to them. Everybody's got equipment lockups with stuff lying around that hasn't been used in years or sometimes decades.
Yes.
So, you know, there's nothing to stop everybody coming together and going, well, you know, I haven't used it in a decade. I'm probably never going to use it. Like, donations like that are fantastic. And the auction that we did was actually really, really successful, wasn't it, George?
It did amazing. We had, Artemis Pyle sent us drumsticks. Billy Idol sent us tour jackets. Disturbed sent us drum heads.
Muse sent a guitar.
Guitars.
Wow.
Metallica sent us posters. Grateful Dead sent us original pieces of works of art. I mean, even manufacturers sent us guitar pedals.
Yamaha sent a beautiful drum kit. I didn't want to give it away. It was better than mine.
Now, I just want to back up for 1 second and tell everybody that's listening or going to listen. Wounded Warrior Project was brought up, and people might wonder, well, how did that come into play? Just go to rickallen.com and you'll see he's been involved with this stuff long before all this, and that's where the assimilations come from. He was already involved in that and helping those organizations before, and now he's saying assimilate to that because he's already involved in that before. And if you go to his rickallen.com, you'll see everything that he's been doing for years, not just starting up now.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm glad you mentioned that. And also biglovebenefitconcerts.com. That's another a great resource. You know, there are all kinds of ways that we can all help one another right now. And, you know, this was the first one. We'd love to do more of them because we didn't want it to be a bottle rocket. We wanted it to be a nice long firework display that just keeps the money coming in. And we really appreciate there are other organizations that are doing this at the moment. Save Our Stages. There's everybody is doing their bit, and we don't want to compete with anybody. We just want to be part of, this wonderful solution. And the only way we're going to achieve that is by raising awareness and really a call to action. We really want people to step up and realize that it's about self-preservation also. But there are these beautiful two-way streets where, if I can help some of my brothers and sisters in the industry that I've known for years, then I know that if ever I'm in a situation, other people would step up to help me. And that's right. That's what it's about,
Absolutely.
And
so how do we get the general public involved in this? Because the way that I see it is there are a lot of these, trying to help our community. Live Nation has a Crew Nation and all these kind of things that the way that I see it, a roadie that's living in a car right now, $1,000 is not going to do anything for that guy. You know what I mean? He's lost his house, he's lost his family, whatever it is. There has to be a larger path to help people, because I think that, just like you said earlier, most people think that all of us roadies are just being taken care of by rock stars and we're fine, which is absolutely not the truth. There's a lot of us that haven't worked in a year and a half, and it's unprecedented. So how do we get the message to everybody?
Out of our bubble.
I believe it's platform. I think, as everybody sees, just like you and Tater, we've been trying this streaming thing. We've been we're doing Facebook, we're doing WebEx, we're doing Zoom, we're doing YouTube, we're doing all of that. What we found, and I think you are just like us, there's not a lot of people, not everybody are social media type folks. Not right. Everybody knows when you blanket it with the today's traditional ways of outreach or advertisement, whatever terminology you want to use, that it's going to get to people. I think it's platform based, and I think we need to figure out a way to get to platforms where people traditionally during this time are watching: the Amazon Primes, the Netflix, the Access TVs, if there was still an MTV that was really an MTV, you know what I mean? Even a pay-per-view on HBO, for Christ's sake. I believe that our two disciplines, live music and broadcast to the masses, somehow needs to come together. And I don't know what it's going to take to get us all to start playing, right. But we need to figure out a way to start playing together. And I'm not sure how that's going to happen, but I know we need to push for that. I know Rick and Lauren and I and our publicist are really trying to figure out how to make that marriage, but it's not as easy as one would think.
What I like most about what you and Rick are doing is, the problem is twofold. It's financial and it's mental health. And the mental health thing is huge in our industry. We're a bunch of lost boys. And, you take that away from us, man, we are creative, lost boy people, lost girls too. And you take that freedom of creation away from us, which is what exactly has happened in the last year. And man, a lot of us just spiral, it's not good.
That sense of purpose.
Yeah.
I felt it myself, I found myself going into depression.
Yes.
And then when myself and Lauren, when we started hanging out with George and everybody at Sound Image, it lifted us. And it's that whole idea that it's the community. It's really the community, and nobody's going to give us any handouts. Nobody's going to come up and say, here, sit it out. It's got to come from within. It's got to come from within our industry and other, as George suggested, TV platforms, pay-per-views, that kind of thing. I think give people the opportunity to help in that way, but other people have to get involved. TV companies have to get involved, and all that is easier said than done. So if there is anybody out there that has any bright ideas about how we can get more rubber on the road and really get the awareness out there, let's not sugarcoat it. Our industry is dying. And how we can stop the hemorrhaging, and I think it's got to be a community-based effort.
Yeah.
So one of the ways that I keep telling all of my friends that I stay in contact with is anybody that you talk to that is outside of our industry, always. At least all my friends that are outside of the industry, my best friend I grew up with is a lawyer, and he's always checking with me like, hey, are you doing okay? I know your industry is screwed. And the answer to those people should be, yeah, man, I'm okay, but there's so many people that aren't. If you have any way, like go to, Big Love, concerts.com and if you have $5, go donate $5 because it all will help our community, right? So that's when you talk about coming from within, I think that we as a community need to do more of that. Speaking to people that are outside of our community, making ourselves known and having them come to, something that you're doing.
Michael Strickland's done that guy's probably worked tirelessly for the last year, right?
Yes.
And, but he's gone kind of the government way. It's trying to get those troops rallied for us as far as the government thing, but it just seems like that middle thing of getting the just the next door neighbor to know what you even. I think the problem is they didn't know what we did before, right. And now we got to re-educate the public on what we do, and that's what we've lost.
You guys are masters. The thing is, sorry to interrupt you, but you guys are masters at wearing all black, and you always blend in. And you never want anybody to see you.
Yes.
And now it's different. This is when, you guys have got to step up and wear something brightly colored.
Yeah. Time to put the red shirt on.
Yeah.
We're hurting, and we're so full of pride, and we're we don't ever admit, that we're hurting or, admit defeat. But right now, it's so important that we get that message out there. And that's why we're so thankful for this platform. Because as George pointed out, not everybody uses social media, say, in the way that I have to, because I'm normally speaking to fans. So, most people behind the scenes, there's no real reason for them to have any kind of social media platforms. Whereas this kind of platform is perfect because it's a bit more old school. It's a bit more earthy. And, people can just watch this and go, I get it, So that's kind of what we're looking for.
Now, moving on a bit, how did Sweet Relief become the benefactor of Big Love, I guess? How did that marriage come about? And how did it, and go a little bit further as you found them, but how are you sure they were the right benefactor?
Well, I'm sure George has got his own stories, but I've known people that have been the benefactors of their charity. One of our crew members, unfortunately, he had to have bypass surgery, and a good portion of his medical bills were taken care of, and just the way that they operate and how professional it is, and no bullshit. we all saw that Sweet Relief were one of those organizations that did it the right way. So, and everybody I think everybody in their own way had experienced them from a personal point of view, or knew somebody that had been affected, by loss of earnings or whatever, and they just stepped up. So they seem like an obvious choice to us.
Fantastic. And George, how did you think of them, and how did you vet them, I guess? Or
well, I've had a long-standing relationship with Sweet Relief over the years. It stems back from the early years. Actually, Pooch has been involved indirectly about 30 years because of Peggy and Neil Young's Bridge School benefit.
Bridge School,
is how I've been involved. And unfortunately, they've come to me to handle the production on many of our crew members' memorial services. And I know quite a few people within the infrastructure. And what strikes me about Sweet Relief is truly a homegrown nonprofit. It's not top heavy. It's about people who truly care. In situations like this, they take zero commission. The money goes 100% of the money goes to the benefactors.
You can repeat that.
It goes 100% of the
because
money
that's a big thing, George. I mean, there are a lot of,
money's tight.
They're claiming to help us crew guys, and they're not necessarily that. So that's a huge thing.
This is not the case with Sweet Relief. Sweet Relief did not take one penny. They directly give the money to the benefactors. They have other sources of money that keep their operation running. They get donations from, I'll give you an example, the Rex Foundation, which is a part of the Grateful Dead organization. They help fund their operations, and as well have a Rex Roadie account that they separate the funds that are intended for different reasons. And I'm not unaware, I'm sure there may be somebody else, but Sweet Relief has always done the right thing. And when you look at the orientation you have to go through with a lot of these other support companies, I'll call them companies, it's like filling out a mortgage. The vetting process for, as you said, $1,000. And it's one time only. As Rick just mentioned, medical bills, plural, not medical bill, not 1,000, not 500. If you've got a situation, if it's mental, they'll find you a therapist that'll work pro bono. If you have a medical issue, they'll get you a therapist. Get you a medical facility that'll work pro bono. They'll get you a prescription company that will work within your insurance. If you don't have insurance, they go the extra mile. I'm unaware of any other organization that goes to that degree, to that human level. They don't, there's that old saying, some people are in love with the idea. And so, some people are in love with the idea of being in love, and some people are just in love.
Yes.
Same thing goes with charities, if you ask me. You're either a charity or you're in love with the idea of being a charity.
Right.
I know. And I think it's important you mentioned that about a company that's too top heavy.
Exactly.
Myself and Lauren, we've been running, Raven Drum Foundation for years, since like 2001. And it's always been about a streamlined organization. It's like as few people as possible to get in the way of, where the money needs to go. And, as long as that's the primary focus, and you're not, you're not doing it for the wrong reasons. Because I know a lot of non-for-profits out there. I'm not going to mention any names because that's not cool.
Yeah, of course not.
But yeah, it needs to be streamlined, and then the money goes to the right places, and there's less red tape, and that's I think that's the game.
Well, speak to the end game a little bit here. So what if, speak to the guy that's watching this right now going, I'm about to lose my house, and my wife's leaving me, and all those kind of things, who just happens to be watching this. How do they get in touch with your things, and what is the relief that you're helping them to get?
That's a really good, I think George could probably speak to that.
It's actually fairly simple. You literally just start by going to sweetrelief.org. And you kind of tab through to what your situation is. Or if you're emotionally overwhelmed and you don't just want to tab through, there's a 1-800 number at the bottom of the homepage. You call that number. A very nice person will answer. They'll listen to what you have to say. They'll guide you through everything that you need to do. And they'll even go as far as mailing you the stuff or walking you through everything right there and then. And the turnaround time is really pretty quick. We have a friend that recently lost all of his fingers, checking the tensioner on the fan belt of his bus. And somebody
flesh wound, man, flesh wound.
Somebody inadvertently pushed the start button in the cab, and it took all of his fingers off. He didn't have necessary finances to get some apparatus that he needed for the rehabilitation, and within weeks he had the money. And so they're really great. And they're just good people. I mean, literally, when we started working with them, the first call, we had the three heads of Sweet Relief on a Zoom call, the first call. And that's how cool these people are.
And I'd like to mention, they just didn't start up during COVID. They have been doing this, helping people long before COVID.
Over 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And years. The thing is, when COVID hit, because they're so well organized, so well set up, they were able to just turn on a dime and kind of refocus their attention on what needed to happen.
Correct.
The infrastructure was all there. They just had to add that in, that component in. Yeah.
Right. Their primary focus at the time was musicians, and they had a small area based from the Grateful Dead's crew called the Rex Foundation. And when we approached them on working specifically for crew, they were like, no problem. We're on. They redid their marketing. They redid their graphics. They redid everything. And they were just so awesome to work with.
Yeah, it used to read, like industry, or musicians. It was a musicians fund, and they actually changed all that up. So it was musicians fund and industry professionals.
Correct.
And it was fantastic that they were able to just turn that around so quickly and just
days they did it.
And let's also not forget, like Def Leppard's situation. That's a band, what I call a band of rock stars. That's a band of principals. There's many bands that have hired musicians just like us crew guys that also are in the same boat, right? I mean, so
let's not discount the musician part of this too.
Not at all. Not at all.
And I always say, this thing is so trickled down. It trickles down all the way to the guy that sells popcorn at the arena.
Right? I don't think people realize the size of the ripple effect. And, you imagine all the restaurants and the bars, around venues and, the parking. I mean, it literally, it didn't leave a stone unturned. It literally affected everybody, even if you're not in the venue. It's all the foot traffic. It's everybody that visits, the restaurant before they go into the concert, whatever. So it's huge. And again, you know, if people are out there and they have ideas, we don't claim to have this all figured out. But if there are people out there that have ideas of how we can get word out there, or, you know, if they know of any opportunities for, you know, corporate sponsorship or anything like that.
Yeah, guys, think outside the box, man, and try to help in any way that you can. Is there, I know that you did the Big Love concert, but there may be another one coming. Is the revenue stream from Big Love concerts still there? Like, in other words, can you watch that concert that happened and still donate money to this day? How do you do that, George?
Well, currently what we did is we ran it for one night. Got it. And Nugs is going through Nugs TV is what we ran it on. They were going through a change from Nugs.TV to Nugs.net or something like that, or Nugs.net to Nugs.TV. And there were some login challenges. So they were really cool, and they extended it and ran it for an entire week.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and then the other cool thing was that once you purchased your ticket, you were able to view it for 48 hours after that. And I think they even extended that. But, you know, as we were saying,
they did.
Yeah. But as we were saying earlier, to get a TV platform, you know, like a pay-per-view or that type of thing, then what we could do is we could put all our links back up again, you know, create live links. And then we can start running the auctions. We can start running, you know, everything, every which way we can to bring in revenue. You know, we'll make sure that all that is live again. Because, quite honestly, I think it's a fantastic show. And you know, I'm in it myself, and I watched it, and it's so emotional. And at the end of it, you really get why we're doing this, and I just hope more people get to see this show. And you know, we're not done. You know, we really want to push this to the next level. And
I think what Rick's point is, and to answer your question is, currently it's not up anywhere, and it's not up on purpose. Got it. The reason why it's not up is because we believe that as we talked about earlier, streaming is not the answer. We believe there's a larger platform that we can put up what we've done, show not only the general public, but our brothers and sisters in the industry and bands that look what we've done. Look, we've got the recipe.
Yeah.
You've seen the show, you guys, right?
Yeah, I have. And it was amazing. And the vision that I have, and I don't see why we can't do this, is, you know, something like Farm Aid, where we tried to help, you know, all of the farmers. It's like, why can't we do that for musicians and for roadies? Make this you know, like you said, a huger broadcast, whether that's.
And that's what I'm saying. So if we get this partner, whoever this partner is,
right,
we put it out. Now there is that funding. That funding goes to the people. We have the studio at our place. All we need is the people.
Yeah.
So we re-show this thing to people to a real audience.
Yeah.
We get some real money into Sweet Relief. We get all these other people going, well, why didn't you call me? George, why didn't you call me? Tater, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you call me?
Yeah.
It's a tricky call. You know, George has been coaching me. He says, stop texting. He said, just pick up the phone and call the people directly.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he says you're not going to get, you know, as honest response, you know.
That's true.
And I still find it difficult to hassle other musicians. You know, I feel at a certain point, I feel like I'm being a pest. and you know,
I don't feel that way.
We thank you for it.
Of course you don't, George.
All you can do is tell me no or fuck off. I'm still gonna ask. I'm sorry. You know, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna go back to loving hands for stagehands. Anytime anybody calls me or texted me or they email me or they write me a private message, they say, I'm doing all right now, but I can see how other people need this and that. What can I do to help?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you just to do one thing. Call somebody every day or once a week or whatever you can follow your mind. Just call somebody. Check in on them. And if they're not okay, make that your priority. You know what I mean?
I completely agree with you, George. My only problem with that is the very small limited exposure I've had to mental illness, where obviously the end result was a suicide. I saw that person happier and in the best spirits of his life 4 days before he took his life. And if you would have asked me how he was doing, I thought that guy was on top of the world before we parted ways from the last show. And I to this day, it's like, man, I don't know.
It's hard to spot. Is it
hard to spot?
Yeah,
it is. I remember an old friend of mine. Unfortunately, he's not with us. You know, I don't think he did it on purpose, but for whatever circumstances, and he had this bipolar sort of condition. And whenever I saw him, he was almost too happy. I mean, he was so just up and, you know, constantly just really positive. But then I remember I traveled up to Seattle to go to his funeral, which was crap. But then when I started talking with his friends, I saw the underbelly. I saw that when he was back home, sometimes that's when he would go into his really darkest depression.
Yeah.
And so if you see somebody like that, yeah, that's great. And, you know, it's wonderful to see them, you know, so up and you know, energized. But it's somebody somewhere knew.
Yes.
That your friend is going through a really difficult time.
That's right.
Yeah. Somebody somewhere knew.
I look at this time as, listen, it's been a year now. All of us have felt paralyzed. All of us have been like, oh my goodness, this, you know, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. And now we're realizing, oh man, this is going to go way longer than we thought. It's time for a call to action. You know, we are, as roadies, we get shit done, right? Like we can make a show out of something that isn't a show. So I think that if you are doing well and you've gotten your family to a place where it's like, okay, we're going to survive this. It's tough for all of us, but we're going to survive it. We're going to get through. Then I think it's time for all of us to be involved with something like this. George, how do we get involved with you know, these organizations or with yourself? Or how does someone that is like myself doing okay, I'm not doing great, but I'm doing okay, how can I get involved?
You get involved. Well, as you said, this whole show is about relationships, right?
Yep.
So, you know, we all know somebody who knows somebody. And it's about having conversations with those people and saying, look, there are various people trying to do various things. And I know this group of guys who's got a recipe, and we need to get that recipe to a broader audience. What can you do to help? And then taking those relationships and marrying those relationships so we can get it to a broader audience, so we can get more money, we can get more mental health, more physical health care to our brothers and sisters. We can't just, talk the talk. We got to walk the walk. All of us, we've got to unify. And
so specifically, how do we do that? Like, who should we contact? Is there, does Sweet Relief, accept volunteers, or, what's your thoughts on how to make that happen?
What about just guys wanting to help at the Big Love concert and stuff? Is that available?
Well, the way we could use help, because of COVID restrictions,
right.
We have at the shop, we follow even though it's 30,000 square foot building, we have a COVID officer, we have decontamination, we have all of this stuff. The help that we can use is donations of merchandise that we can, artifacts, whatever, that we can charity raffle off.
And every crew guy knows of some locker somewhere filled with a bunch of stuff no one's using.
Yep, you can ship it to my shop, and we catalog it. We send that catalog off to Sweet Relief, and then they deal with a third party who gets rid of it, who auctions it off. You can contact artists. Stay away from the sausage machine. Don't go to management. Go to the artist. Never call management.
Yes, I know.
I'm telling you, don't call management. Call the lead singer. Call the guitar player.
I love it.
This is the one time you're allowed.
Yeah. Call management. Okay.
It's true, and the more support we get for our crews, the better we can hit the ground running when this thing comes back. Because
Let me ask this real quick. Rick, you guys were set to go on we're talking a tour, a big tour that got canceled. Obviously, tons of people employed, tons. I mean, how's it gonna feel just on the musicians' end to go back there and see all those people back to work? I mean, how is that gonna feel to you?
I tell people all the time that when I find myself in front of a console again at a room full of 10,000 people, I'm going to start crying. I really am, because
it's going to be really emotional. Because I can't think of a time in my history where this has ever happened before. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I mean, has it ever happened?
No, our business has always been bulletproof.
Bulletproof.
When 9/11 happened, we worked the most because we were doing all the benefit concerts. It's always been that, right? But this crippled us. This is uncharted territory.
Took it to the knees on this one for sure.
Yeah.
Now, we normally talk about sound and stuff on here. We're almost to the end here. And let's give a shout out to Ted Bible and Ronan McHugh. Do a fantastic job with Def Leppard.
Absolutely.
And they have for a long time. I mean, Ronan gets pristine. You
guys always sound amazing out front. I mixed Motley Crew and with you guys in a European tour a few years back.
That's right.
And Ronan he has you guys sounding amazing. So shout out.
Here, though. But it's really good.
Amazing.
I thought you were going to say the drums are never loud enough, but
tell Ronan to turn the drums up. But anyway, hey guys, we're at the end here of our hour, and we thank you so much for coming and talking to us and
educating us.
Educating us on this. And
you should invite Lauren to come on. She's
absolutely invited.
Anytime. That's why I wanted to say something about her records. It's out, the one that came out. She does lots of stuff before this happened with charity stuff and helping people and spiritual stuff. So Lauren Monroe, let's give her a look up and all that stuff. Thanks for educating us on who all these people are and the organizations. And I know it's tough for people out there. Money's tight for not just our industry, but everybody. When they donate, they want to be sure it's good. Like George said, talked about Sweet Relief and how the money goes there. And Rick, thanks for, just a musician of your long standing and your caliber, even thinking about what's going on in the crews and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It means all of the world. Sometimes you sit here and I haven't heard from any guy. I helped build their career for 13 years and all that stuff. And you're representing those people in my mind now. And we do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, it's back to what I was saying. It's a partnership. The guy that I work with, Jeff Diffner, without him, my show would be crap. So I owe it to you guys.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think I think it's not just the regular person out there that doesn't realize that we're not being taken care of. It's the millionaires out there. The rock star guys aren't even it's not even on their radar that maybe we're not being taken care of.
We'll be. We aim to change that.
And that is amazing in itself, and we sure do appreciate that.
A lot of people need to hear that. I hope this reaches a lot. Yeah.
So guys, stick with us. We'll look for the Q&A episode that comes out in a couple of days. We're going to go with George here on the side, hear a little bit more about his story. Rick, thank you so much for coming. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks, bro.
And guys, next week on Wrong End of the Snake is Miles Kennedy, of all people.
Fantastic.
Miles founded the band The Mayfield Four and has jammed with former members of Led Zeppelin, but he is best known as the lead vocalist and rhythm guitarist of the rock band Alter Bridge, and as lead vocalist for the band Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. He released a solo album called Year of the Tiger in 2018, and we eagerly await his second solo album coming soon. So that'll be great. We are definitely going to talk to Miles next week about the Big Love concert and his experience there. Yes. So look for that. And thanks for tuning in, guys. We sure do appreciate you. George, we'll see you on the question and answer.